The abandoned outpost. The derelict space station hung silently in the inky void, its once gleaming hull now pitted and scarred by years of neglect. Zara, a young Silesian girl with iridescent scales and large liquid eyes, huddled in a dimly lit corner of the station's lower decks. Her slender frame shook with fear and exhaustion as she listened to the ominous creaks and groans of the dying outpost. Zara had been left behind when her people evacuated the station weeks ago, fleeing from an unknown threat that had sent ripples of panic through the Silesian community. In their haste to escape, they had somehow overlooked the small child, leaving her to fend for herself in this cold, unforgiving environment. As Zara's food supplies dwindled and the station's life support systems faltered, she found herself facing a grim reality. The Silesians had always warned their children about the dangers that lurked in the galaxy, chief among them the carnivorous humans who were said to devour anything in their path. Now, as she sat alone in the darkness, Zara wondered if perhaps being eaten by humans would be preferable to slowly starving to death. The sudden sound of metal grinding against metal sent a jolt of terror through Zara's body. She pressed herself further into the shadows, her heart pounding so loudly she was sure it would give away her position. The noise grew louder, accompanied by the hiss of an airlock cycling. Someone, or something, had boarded the station. Heavy footsteps echoed through the corridors, growing closer with each passing moment. Zara held her breath, her eyes wide with fear as she caught her first glimpse of the intruders. They were tall, bipedal creatures clad in bulky environmental suits. Their helmets were opaque, hiding their faces from view, but Zara knew instinctively that these must be the dreaded humans she had been warned about. The lead figure paused, holding up a hand to signal the others. Life signs detected. A muffled voice announced. Faint, but present. Spread out and search. Could be survivors. Zara's mind raced. Should she reveal herself and risk being eaten, or try to hide and hope they wouldn't find her? Before she could decide, a beam of light cut through the darkness, illuminating her hiding spot. She let out a frightened squeak, pressing herself against the wall. The human with the light took a step back, clearly surprised. Holy, Captain, you're gonna want to see this. It's a kid. An alien kid. The leader of the group approached, crouching down to get a better look at Zara. With a soft hiss, the figure removed their helmet, revealing a face that was both alien and somehow familiar to Zara. The human had dark skin, close-cropped hair, and eyes that seemed to shine with curiosity and concern. "Hey there, little one," the human said softly, her voice gentler than Zara had expected. "I'm Captain Amelia Chen of the Earth exploration vessel Horizon. Are you hurt? Where are your people?" Zara trembled, unable to understand the human's words but recognizing the tone as non-threatening. She opened her mouth to speak, but only a dry rasp emerged. How long had it been since she'd had water? The captain seemed to understand immediately. She reached for a container at her belt, unscrewing the cap and offering it to Zara. "It's water," she said, miming drinking. "You must be thirsty." Hesitantly, Zara reached out and took the container. She sniffed it cautiously before taking a small sip. The cool liquid was like nectar to her parched throat, and she quickly gulped down more. "Slow down, kiddo," Captain Chen said with a chuckle. "There's plenty more where that came from. Let's get you out of here and somewhere safe, okay?" As the captain reached out a hand, Zara flinched instinctively. The stories of human brutality flashed through her mind, but the gentle expression on the captain's face didn't match those tales of horror. Slowly, Zara placed her small, scaled hand in the human's larger one. "That's it," Captain Chen encouraged. "You're safe now. We're not going to hurt you." The other humans had gathered around, their helmets now removed as well. Zara was surprised to see the diversity in their appearances. Different skin tones, hair colors, and facial features. They didn't look like the uniformly terrifying monsters she had been led to believe. As Captain Chen helped Zara to her feet, the young Silesian swayed, weak from hunger and dehydration. Without hesitation, the captain scooped her up, cradling her gently. "Dr. Patel," Chen called out to one of her crew members, "I need you to give her a quick checkup. The rest of you, sweep the station. Make sure there are no other survivors, and see if you can find out what happened here." The human doctor approached, a kind smile on his face as he began to examine Zora. His touch was gentle, and he murmured soothing words as he worked. Zara found herself relaxing despite her lingering fear, the warmth and care of these strangers, a stark contrast to the cold abandonment she had endured. As the humans bustled around her, Zara caught snippets of their conversation. Though she couldn't understand their words, their tones conveyed concern, curiosity, and determination. They seemed genuinely interested in helping her and uncovering the mystery of the abandoned outpost. Captain Chen carried Zora through the station's corridors, heading towards their ship. The young Zolosian marveled at the sleek design of the human vessel as they approached. It was so different from the angular, utilitarian ships of her own people. As they entered the airlock, Zora tensed, suddenly afraid. What if this was all a trick? What if the humans were taking her to be eaten after all? But as the inner doors slid open, revealing a brightly lit, clean interior filled with advanced technology, her fear began to subside. The captain set Zora down on a comfortable bed in what appeared to be a medical bay. Dr. Patel began a more thorough examination, using devices that hummed and beeped in ways that fascinated the young alien. "She's malnourished and dehydrated," Dr. Patel reported, "but otherwise in surprisingly good health considering the circumstances. I'll start her on fluids and nutrients right away." Captain Chen nodded, then turned to Zara with a warm smile. "You're going to be okay," she said, even though she knew the child couldn't understand her words. "We'll take care of you and try to find out what happened to your people. You're safe now." As the reality of her rescue began to sink in, Zara felt tears welling up in her eyes. She reached out, grasping Captain Chen's hand tightly. The human's eyes widened in surprise, then softened with understanding. She sat down beside the bed, holding Zara's hand and offering silent comfort. The other crew members began to return from their search of the station, their faces grim as they reported their findings to the captain. Zara couldn't understand their words, but she could sense the gravity of the situation. "No other survivors," one of the humans said. "But we found records. It looks like they evacuated in a hurry about 3 weeks ago. Some kind of threat. But the logs are corrupted. We couldn't get much detail." Captain Chen's brow furrowed as she processed this information. She looked down at Zara, who was watching her with wide, questioning eyes. How could anyone have left this child behind? And what could have scared an entire community so badly that they would abandon their outpost like this? As night fell in the artificial cycle of the ship, Zara found herself tucked into a makeshift bed in a small, cozy cabin. Captain Chen had refused to leave her side, seemingly understanding the child's need for a constant, reassuring presence. Zara's mind whirled with the day's events. The humans, far from being the monsters she had been taught to fear, had shown her nothing but kindness and compassion. They had saved her life, fed her, and were now protecting her. As she drifted off to sleep, Zara realized that perhaps the greatest threat in the universe wasn't the humans after all, but the fear and prejudice that had led her own people to abandon her. In the soft glow of the cabin's night lights, Captain Chen watched over the sleeping alien child, her mind racing with questions. What had happened to the Zolosians? Why had they left in such a hurry? And most importantly, what were they going to do with this young survivor who had been entrusted to their care? As the Horizon cruised silently through the star-studded expanse of space, its human crew found themselves facing an unexpected challenge. They had set out to explore the unknown, to push the boundaries of human knowledge and experience. Instead, they had stumbled upon a mystery and a responsibility that would test not only their skills as explorers, but also their humanity itself. The journey that lay ahead would be fraught with dangers, discoveries, and decisions that would shape the future of both their species. But for now, in the quiet of the ship's night cycle, All that mattered was that a scared, lonely child had found safety and comfort in the most unexpected of places, among the very beings she had been taught to fear. Unexpected allies. The soft hum of the horizon's engines provided a soothing backdrop as Zara slowly opened her eyes. For a moment, disorientation gripped her as she took in the unfamiliar surroundings. Then the events of the previous day came rushing back. Her rescue, the kind humans, and the strange new environment of their ship. Captain Amelia Chen was still there, dozing in a chair beside Zara's bed. The sight of the human's peaceful face brought an unexpected warmth to Zara's heart. She stirred slightly, and the captain's eyes immediately snapped open, alert and focused. "Good morning, little one," Chen said softly, a gentle smile spreading across her face. "Did you sleep well?" Zara couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakably warm and caring. She nodded hesitantly, her iridescent scales shimmering in the soft light of the cabin. A knock at the door preceded the entrance of Dr. Patel, his arms laden with various instruments and what appeared to be food containers. "Good morning, Captain, and to our young guest as well," he said cheerfully. "I thought we might try introducing her to some Earth cuisine while I perform a follow-up examination." As Dr. Patel began his checkup, Captain Chen opened one of the containers, releasing a tantalizing aroma that made Zara's stomach growl audibly. The captain chuckled, offering a spoonful of the mysterious substance to the young Xylosian. Zara sniffed cautiously before taking the small taste. Her eyes widened in surprise and delight at the explosion of flavors on her tongue. It was unlike anything she had ever eaten before, rich, savory, and utterly delicious. "I think she likes your famous curry, Doctor," Chen remarked with a grin. As Zara eagerly consumed more of the meal, Dr. Patel completed his examination. "She's responding well to treatment," he reported. "The nutritional supplements have already made a noticeable difference. However, we need to be cautious about introducing too many new foods too quickly." Chen nodded, her expression turning serious. "What about communication? Have you made any progress on that front?" Dr. Patel pulled out a small device. "We've been working on adapting our universal translator to her language. It's not perfect, but it should allow for basic communication." He activated the device, and a soft blue light emanated from it. "Hello, Zara," he said clearly. "Can you understand me now?" The device hummed for a moment before producing a series of melodic chirps and trills. Zara's eyes widened in shock as she recognized words in her own language. "Why, yes," she replied hesitantly, her voice rough from disuse. "I can understand you." The humans' faces lit up with excitement. "That's wonderful," Captain Chen exclaimed. "Zara, we have so many questions for you. But first, is there anything you need? Anything you want to ask us?" Zara hesitated, overwhelmed by the sudden ability to communicate. Finally, she blurted out, "Why haven't you eaten me?" The human's expressions shifted from joy to confusion, then to horror as the translation came through. "Eaten you," Chen repeated, aghast. "Zara, we would never do such a thing. Who told you we eat other species?" "Everyone," Zara replied, her voice small. "All the grown-ups said humans were dangerous carnivores who devoured anything in their path." Captain Chen's face softened with understanding. "Oh, Zara," she said gently, "while it's true that humans are omnivores, meaning we eat both plants and meat, we certainly don't eat sentient beings. Whoever told you those things was gravely misinformed." As this revelation sank in, Zara felt a complex mix of emotions: relief, confusion, and a growing sense of betrayal towards those who had instilled such fear in her. "But if you're not monsters, why did everyone run away?" she asked. Chen and Paddle exchanged glances. "That's what we're trying to figure out," the captain explained. "Can you tell us what happened before your people left the station?" Zara's face scrunched up in concentration as she tried to recall the chaotic events. "There was a lot of shouting," she began slowly. "The grown-ups were scared. They kept talking about a void caller coming. Everyone was rushing to the ships. I got separated from my caretakers in the crowd. By the time I realized what was happening, everyone was gone. The humans listened intently, their faces grave. A void caller, Dr. Patel mused. I've never heard of such a thing. Captain, could it be some kind of natural phenomenon? Or perhaps a hostile species? Chen shook her head. I don't know, but whatever it is, it was enough to cause an entire community to abandon their home, and tragically, this child. She turned back to Zara, her eyes filled with compassion. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, Zara. But I promise you, we'll do everything we can to find out what happened and to keep you safe. Just then, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Captain to the bridge. Immediately, a tense voice announced, We've detected an anomaly approaching at high speed. Chen stood quickly, her posture shifting into one of alert readiness. I have to go, she told Zara. Dr. Patel will stay with you. Don't worry, you're safe here. As the captain rushed out, Zara felt a flicker of the old fear returning. What if this anomaly was the void caller her people had fled from? What if the humans abandoned her too? Dr. Patel seemed to sense her distress. It's all right, Zara, he said soothingly. Why don't I tell you a bit about Earth while we wait for the captain to return? I think you'll find humans aren't so different from your people after all. As the doctor began to describe the diverse ecosystems and cultures of Earth, Zara found herself drawn in despite her anxiety. The world he described sounded wonderful and terrifying in equal measure, a planet of breathtaking beauty and staggering complexity. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Captain Chen stared at the main view screen with a mixture of awe and trepidation. A swirling vortex of darkness was approaching the horizon, tendrils of void reaching out like grasping fingers. Analysis. Chen barked. Her science officer, Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka, shook her head in frustration. It's like nothing we've ever encountered, Captain. It's absorbing all our scan attempts. We can't get any clear readings. Chen's mind raced. Could this be the void caller that had scared off the Salosians? If so, they were facing an unknown threat with a child to protect and no idea of its capabilities or intentions. Shields up, she ordered. Prepare for evasive maneuvers, and someone get me the Silosian database from that station. If this is what they were running from, they might have information we need. As the crew scrambled to follow her orders, Chen couldn't help but think of Zara. The young alien had already been through so much. Now, it seemed, the humans who had rescued her might be facing the very threat that had caused her abandonment. Back in the medical bay, Zara suddenly sat up straight, her scales rippling with an eerie bioluminescence. It's here, she whispered, her eyes wide with fear. Dr. Patel looked at her in confusion. What's here, Zara? The void caller, she replied, her voice trembling. I can feel it. Before the doctor could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Emergency klaxons began to blare as the lights flickered ominously. On the bridge, Captain Chen gripped her command chair as the horizon bucked and swayed. Report. She shouted over the cacophony of alarms. The anomaly is attempting to pull us in. Lieutenant Tanaka yelled back. Our engines are at maximum, but we're losing ground. Chen's mind raced. They couldn't outrun this thing, and their weapons seemed useless against it. What they needed was information, and there was only one source available. Get the girl up here, she ordered, to the shock of her crew. Now. As a bewildered Dr. Patel ushered Zara onto the bridge, the young Salosian's eyes were immediately drawn to the view screen. The swirling vortex of darkness seemed to call to her, awakening something deep within her being. Zara, Captain Chen said urgently, kneeling before the child. I know you're scared, but we need your help. Do you know anything about this thing? Anything at all that might help us? Zara tore her gaze away from the screen, looking into the captain's eyes. In that moment, she saw not the terrifying carnivore of legend, but a protector, someone who had saved her and was now fighting to save them all. Taking a deep breath, Zara nodded. The old stories, she said softly. They speak of the Void Callers. They're not monsters, but guardians. They come when balance is threatened. As Zara spoke, her scales began to glow brighter, pulsing with an otherworldly light. The bridge crew watched in amazement as the young alien seemed to transform before their eyes, becoming a conduit for some ancient cosmic force. The Void Caller isn't attacking us, Zara continued, her voice taking on an echoing quality. It's trying to communicate, but it needs. Suddenly, Zara reached out and placed her small, scaled hand on the ship's main control panel. Energy surged through the Horizon systems, and for a moment, everything went dark. When the lights came back on, the view screen showed not the terrifying vortex, but a breathtaking vista of swirling galaxies and newborn stars. A sense of profound peace settled over the bridge. It was lonely, Zara said simply, her voice once again that of a child. It just wanted to talk. Captain Chen looked from Zara to the screen and back again, her mind struggling to process what had just happened. In saving this child, it seemed they had stumbled upon something far greater than they could have imagined. As the Horizon hung suspended in that cosmic vista, humans and Silosian alike found themselves united in a moment of pure wonder. The boundaries between species, the fears and prejudices that had driven them apart, all seemed insignificant in the face of the vast, beautiful universe that lay before them. In that moment, Captain Amelia Chen knew that their mission had changed. They were no longer just explorers, but ambassadors, not only for humanity but for understanding itself. And their first diplomat was a brave, remarkable alien child who had bridged the gap between worlds. The journey ahead would be challenging, filled with dangers and discoveries beyond imagination. But as Chen looked at her crew, at Dr. Patel, and finally at Zora, the unlikely ally who had saved them all, she knew that together they were ready to face whatever the universe had in store. Journey through the stars. The days following the encounter with the Void Caller were a whirlwind of activity aboard the Horizon. Captain Chen had made the decision to continue their mission, but with a new purpose, to return Zara to her people, and in doing so, foster understanding between humans and Silosians. As the ship cruised through the star-studded expanse of space, Zara found herself becoming an integral part of the crew. Her unique abilities, awakened during the Void Caller incident, became a subject of fascination and study for the human scientists on board. Dr. Patel had taken to working with Zora daily, helping her understand and control her newfound powers. "Focus, Zora," he said gently as they sat in the ship's laboratory. "Try to sense the energy flowing through the ship." Zora closed her eyes, her scales shimmering with a soft, pulsating light. Slowly, a holographic display of the Horizon systems appeared above the lab table, every circuit and power conduit clearly visible. "Remarkable," Dr. Patel breathed, making notes on his tablet. "Your connection to technology is unlike anything we've ever seen. It's as if you can communicate with the ship itself." Zara opened her eyes, the hologram fading away. "It's not just the ship," she said softly. "I can feel everything. The stars, the planets, even the empty space between them. It's all connected." As Zara's abilities grew, so did her bond with the human crew. She spent hours on the bridge with Lieutenant Tanaka, learning about navigation and stellar cartography. In the engineering bay, Chief Engineer Rodriguez taught her about the ship's warp drive, marveling at how quickly she grasped complex concepts. But it was Captain Chen with whom Zara felt the strongest connection. The captain had become a mentor and a protector, guiding Zora through the challenges of her new life among the stars. One quiet evening, as they sat together in the ship's observation deck, watching a distant nebula paint the void with vibrant colors, Zara turned to Chen with a thoughtful expression. "Captain," she began hesitantly, "do you think my people will understand? About the humans, and the Void Caller, and me?" Chen's face softened with compassion. "I hope they will, Zara. But even if they don't at first, we'll do everything we can to help them see the truth. You're living proof that our species can not only coexist, but form deep bonds of friendship and trust." Before Zara could respond, the ship's alarm system blared to life. Red warning lights bathed the observation deck in an ominous glow. "Captain, to the bridge, immediately," Lieutenant Tanaka's voice crackled over the intercom. "We've detected multiple unknown vessels on an intercept course." Chen sprang to her feet, her expression shifting from more mentor to focused leader in an instant. "Stay close to me," she told Zara as they rushed to the bridge. As they burst onto the bridge, the main view screen showed a cluster of sleek, predatory-looking ships rapidly approaching the horizon. Their design was unlike anything in the human database. "Report," Chen barked, sliding into her command chair. "5 vessels, heavily armed," Tanaka replied crisply. "They're not responding to hails. Energy signatures suggest weapons powering up." Chen's mind raced through options. They were outnumbered and likely outgunned. Running wasn't an option. The Horizon was an exploration vessel, not built for sustained high-speed travel. "Shields up," she ordered. "Arm weapons, but hold fire. Let's not start a war if we can avoid it." As the crew scrambled to battle stations, Zara stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the approaching ships. "I know them," she said, her voice a mix of fear and recognition. "They're Krell raiders, pirates. They attacked our outposts sometimes." Chen looked at Zara, then back at the screen. "Can you communicate with them? Maybe we can negotiate." Zara shook her head. "They don't negotiate. They take what they want and destroy the rest." Just then, a barrage of energy weapons fire erupted from the lead Krell ship. The Horizon shuddered under the impact, shields flaring brightly. "Shield strength at 80% and dropping," the tactical officer reported. "They're targeting our engines." Chen gritted her teeth. "Return fire, target their weapon systems, and get us out of here, best speed." The Horizon's weapons lashed out, scoring hits on 2 of the Krell ships. But the pirates' superior numbers were telling. With each exchange, the Horizon's shields weakened further. In the midst of the chaos, Zara closed her eyes, her scales beginning to glow with that now familiar ethereal light. She reached out, placing her hands on the nearest control panel. Suddenly, the Horizon's systems surged with energy. Shields strengthened, weapons fired with increased precision, and the engines pushed beyond their normal limits. "What's happening?" Chen demanded, watching in awe as their ship began to outmaneuver the Krell vessels. "It's Zora," Dr. Paddle replied, rushing onto the bridge. "She's interfacing with the ship, enhancing its capabilities." As the battle raged on, Zora's connection to the ship deepened. Through her, the crew could sense the movements of the enemy vessels, anticipating their attacks with uncanny accuracy. But the strain was taking its toll. Zara's small frame trembled with effort, her breath coming in short gasps. "We need to end this now," Chen realized. "Zara can't keep this up much longer." Tactical, target their lead ship. Full spread of quantum torpedoes. The Horizon unleashed a devastating barrage, striking the Krell flagship with pinpoint accuracy. The pirate vessel erupted in a spectacular explosion, sending shockwaves through the battlefield. The remaining Krell ships, seeing their leader destroyed and their prey proving far more formidable than anticipated, turned tail and flowed into the depths of space. As the immediate danger passed, Zora collapsed, her glow fading. Chen caught her, cradling the exhausted child in her arms. "Get her to medbay," she ordered Dr. Puddle. "And someone tell me what the hell just happened." Hours later, with Zara resting comfortably under Dr. Patel's watchful eye, the senior staff gathered in the conference room to debrief. "The girl's abilities are growing exponentially," Chief Engineer Rodriguez reported. "What she did to our systems, it should have been impossible. She pushed us to nearly 150% efficiency across the board." Lieutenant Tanaka nodded in agreement. "Our response time, targeting accuracy, even our sensor range, all of it was enhanced beyond anything we've ever seen." Captain Chen listened intently, her mind grappling with the implications. Zara's powers were clearly beyond their understanding, and potentially beyond their control. "We need to be careful," she said finally. "Zara is still a child, and these abilities are as new to her as they are to us. We can't risk pushing her too far." Dr. Patil cleared his throat. "There's something else, Captain. During my examination of Zara after the battle, I detected some anomalies in her genetic structure. It's as if her DNA is evolving, adapting to her new abilities." A heavy silence fell over the room as the implications of this revelation sank in. "So what do we do?" Lieutenant Tanaka asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Chen stood, pacing the length of the conference room. "We continue our mission," she said firmly. "We find the Silosians, we return Zara to her people, and we do everything in our power to foster peace and understanding between our species." She paused, looking each of her officers in the eye. "But we also prepare. The universe is clearly far more complex and dangerous than we ever imagined. Zara may be the key to humanity's future among the stars, but she's also a child under our protection. We have a responsibility to her, and to all the beings we'll encounter on this journey." As the meeting adjourned, Chen made her way to the medbay. Zara was awake, her large eyes tracking the captain as she entered. "How are you feeling?" Chen asked gently, sitting beside the bed. "Tired," Zara replied. "But good. I helped, didn't I?" Chen smiled, taking the child's small hand in her own. "You did more than help, Zara. You saved us all. But you also scared us a little. We need to be careful with your abilities, okay? We don't want you getting hurt." Zara nodded solemnly. "I understand. But I'm scared too, Captain. What's happening to me?" Chen squeezed Zara's hand reassuringly. "I don't know, little one. But I promise you this. Whatever happens, whatever you become, you're not alone. We're in this together, all of us. We'll figure it out, just like we figured out the Void Caller." As Zara drifted off to sleep, Chen stood watch, her mind filled with thoughts of the journey ahead. They had set out to explore the stars, but now found themselves at the center of a cosmic mystery. With every light year they traveled, new wonders and new dangers revealed themselves. But as Chen looked at the sleeping child, this remarkable being who had already changed their lives in so many ways, she felt a surge of determination. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Human and Silosian, explorer and refugee, they were no longer separate species but a family, united in their quest for understanding. The Horizon continued its journey through the star-studded expanse, carrying its precious cargo of hope towards an uncertain but promising future. The Galactic Council. The Horizon emerged from warped space, its hull gleaming in the light of an unfamiliar star system. Captain Chen stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the massive space station that dominated the view screen. It was an awe-inspiring structure, a whirling amalgamation of different architectural styles that spoke of multiple species working in harmony. "The Galactic Council," Lieutenant Tanaka breathed, her voice filled with wonder. "I never thought I'd see it with my own eyes." After weeks of following leads and piecing together information from scattered Silosian outposts, they had finally traced the displaced aliens to this hub of interstellar diplomacy. It was here, they hoped, that they would find answers, and perhaps a new beginning for human-alien relations. Zara stood beside Captain Chen, her scales shimmering with nervous energy. In the time since the battle with the Krell Raiders, her abilities had continued to grow, as had her understanding of them. But now, faced with the prospect of reuniting with her people, she felt a conflicting mix of excitement and apprehension. "Remember," Chen said softly to Zara, "no matter what happens in there, you're part of our crew now. We've got your back." Zara nodded, drawing strength from the captain's words and the supportive looks of the bridge crew. They had become her family, these humans who had rescued her from abandonment and helped her discover her true potential. As the Horizon docked with the station, Chen assembled her away team. Herself, Dr. Patel, Lieutenant Tanaka, and of course Zora. They stepped onto the station, marveling at the diversity of life forms bustling through its corridors. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and compositions moved with purpose, their translator devices creating a cacophony of overlapping languages. They were met by a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin and multiple eyes arranged in a spiral pattern on its face. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," it said, its voice melodious and soothing. "I am Sandor, liaison to new species. We've been expecting you." Chen stepped forward, offering a respectful bow. "Captain Amelia Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon. We come in peace and in hope of fostering understanding between our peoples." Sandor's eyes swirled in what seemed to be a gesture of acknowledgement. "We have heard much about your journey, Captain. The Council is most intrigued by your arrival and by your young companion." All eyes turned to Zara, who stood tall despite her nervousness. "Hello," she said simply, her translator conveying her words in the common language of the station. Xander's eyes widened slightly. "A Xylosian child, traveling with humans. Most unusual. The Council will be very interested indeed. Please, follow me." As they were led through the labyrinthine corridors of the station, Chen couldn't shake a growing sense of unease. The looks they were receiving from other species ranged from curiosity to outright hostility. It was clear that humans were an unknown quantity here, and not necessarily a welcome one. They entered a vast chamber, its ceiling so high it seemed to disappear into mist. Arranged in concentric circles were representatives from dozens, perhaps hundreds of different species. At the center was a raised dais, upon which sat 5 beings of distinct appearance, clearly the ruling body of the Galactic Council. As Chen and her team were ushered to the center of the chamber, a hush fell over the assembled aliens. One of the central figures, a being with crystalline skin that refracted light in mesmerizing patterns, spoke. "Humans of Earth," its voice resonated through the chamber, "you stand before the Galactic Council, uninvited and unannounced. Your presence here is unprecedented, and some would say, unwelcome. Explain yourselves." Chen stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. "Esteemed members of the Council, we come before you not as conquerors or interlopers, but as explorers and peacekeepers. We encountered a Xylosian child, abandoned and alone, and in the process of aiding her, we discovered wonders and threats that affect us all." She went on to recount their journey. The encounter with the Void Caller, the battle with the Krull Raiders, and the remarkable abilities Zora had displayed. As she spoke, murmurs rippled through the chamber, a mix of disbelief, concern, and grudging admiration. When Chen finished, another council member, a being composed entirely of swirling gases contained within a transparent shell, addressed them. "These are extraordinary claims, human. Do you have proof of these events?" Before Chen could respond, Zara stepped forward. "I am the proof," she said, her young voice carrying surprising authority. "I am Xylosian, but I have lived among the humans. They are not the monsters we were taught to fear. They are kind, curious, and brave. They saved me when my own people left me behind." As if to emphasize her point, Zora's scales began to glow. The technology in the chamber, lights, displays, even the personal devices of the assembled aliens, flickered and pulsed in sync with her bioluminescence. Gasps and cries of alarm echoed through the chamber. Several representatives backed away, while others leaned in, fascinated. The council members exchanged meaningful glances. The crystalline being spoke again, its voice tinged with awe and concern. "Young Xylosian, your abilities are unlike anything we have encountered. How do we know you? And these humans do not pose a threat to the stability of our galactic community." It was Dr. Patil who answered, stepping forward with a calming gesture. "Honored Council, Zara's abilities are as new to us as they are to you. We've been working to understand and help her control them. But more importantly, we've seen her use these powers not for destruction, but for communication and protection. She is a bridge between species, a symbol of the potential that lies in cooperation and understanding. The council convened in hushed tones, their discussion incomprehensible to the human delegation. Finally, the gaseous being addressed them again. "We find ourselves at a crossroads," it said. "The arrival of humanity on the galactic stage, coupled with the emergence of these unprecedented abilities in Exilosian child, presents both great opportunity and great risk. We must deliberate further." Chen felt her heart sink. Bureaucratic deliberation could take days, even weeks. But before she could voice her concern, another voice rang out from the assembled representatives. "The humans speak the truth." All eyes turned to see a group of Exilosians pushing their way to the front. Their leader, an elderly female with elaborately patterned scales, approached Zara with tears in her eyes. "Zara, my child," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "We thought you lost to us forever. When we fled the Void Caller, in our panic and shame, we abandoned our most sacred duty. We left behind the very future we sought to protect." Zara's eyes widened in recognition. "Elder Shala," she whispered. The Exilosian elder turned to address the council. "Esteemed members, we Exilosians must bear the shame of our actions. But these humans, these beings we long feared, have shown us the error of our ways. They rescued our child, nurtured her gifts, and brought her back to us. They have proven themselves worthy of a place among the stars." A ripple of murmurs passed through the chamber. The council members conferred once more before the crystalline being spoke. "In light of this testimony, and the extraordinary circumstances before us, the council proposes this. Humanity will be granted provisional membership in the galactic community, with the Exilosians as their sponsors. Furthermore, a joint human-Exilosian research team will be established to study and nurture the unique abilities displayed by young Zara. This team will operate under council oversight to ensure the safety of all involved." Chen felt a surge of pride and relief. It wasn't full acceptance, but it was a start, a chance to prove themselves on the galactic stage. As the formal proceedings concluded and the chamber began to clear, Chen found herself surrounded by her crew, Exilosian representatives, and curious members of other species. Questions flew fast and furious, but Chen's attention was drawn to Zara, who stood between Elder Shala and Dr. Patel, her small hand clasped in each of theirs. In that moment, Chen saw the future, not just of humanity or the Exilosians, but of the entire galactic community. It was a future built on understanding, on bridging divides, and on recognizing the potential for growth and change in every being, no matter how different they might seem. The journey that had brought them to this point had been filled with dangers and wonders beyond imagination. But as Chen looked at her crew, at the aliens around them, and at Zara, the child who had become a symbol of hope for them all, she knew that the true adventure was only just beginning. A new era of cooperation. In the months that followed humanity's introduction to the Galactic Council, the Horizon and its crew found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of diplomatic activity, scientific inquiry, and cultural exchange. The ship had been retrofitted and expanded, becoming a floating embassy of sorts, a bridge between Earth and the wider galactic community. Captain Amelia Chen stood in the newly constructed observation lounge, watching as a diverse group of beings mingled, conversed, and shared ideas. Humans in Starfleet uniforms chatted animatedly with Exilosians, their earlier mistrust replaced by genuine curiosity and warmth. Representatives from a dozen other species moved among them, some familiar from the council chambers, others new arrivals eager to meet the latest addition to the galactic family. At the center of it all was Zora, now officially recognized as a vital link between species. The young Exilosian had grown in both stature and confidence, her unique abilities continuing to evolve under the guidance of both human and alien mentors. Dr. Patil approached Chen, a holographic tablet in hand. "Captain, you might want to see this," he said, his voice a mix of excitement and awe. Chen took the tablet, her eyes widening as she scanned the data. "Is this confirmed?" she asked. Patel nodded. "Triple-checked by our team and verified by Exilosian and Council scientists. Zara's abilities, they're not just a random mutation. They appear to be the result of her exposure to the Void Caller, combined with her interactions with human technology. Chen's mind raced with the implications. So, theoretically, Patel finished, this could be the beginning of a new stage of evolution for both our species. Perhaps for all species capable of interfacing with advanced technology. Before Chen could respond, a commotion near the center of the room caught their attention. Zara stood there, her scales glowing with that now familiar bioluminescence. But this time, something was different. The aliens closest to her, a Xylosian elder, a willowy Arcturian, and a human ensign, were beginning to glow as well. "What's happening?" Chen demanded, pushing her way through the startled crowd. Zara turned to her, her eyes shining with excitement and a wisdom beyond her years. "I can feel them, Captain," she said. "All of them. Their thoughts, their feelings, we're all connected." The glowing effect spread, jumping from being to being like a benign contagion. Those affected reported a sense of profound understanding, as if the barriers between species were melting away. "It's beautiful," Lieutenant Tanaka whispered, tears streaming down her face as the glow enveloped her. "I can see everything. The commonalities, the differences, they're all part of a greater whole." For a moment, the entire room was bathed in a soft, pulsating light. Then, as quickly as it had begun, the phenomenon faded, leaving the assembled beings blinking in wonder. What was that?" Elder Shala, the Tylosian representative, asked in a trembling voice. Zara smiled. "The future," she said simply. In the days that followed, news of the event spread rapidly through the galactic community. Some reacted with fear, seeing the phenomenon as a threat to their individuality or way of life. Others embraced it as a sign of a new era of cooperation and understanding. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session to address the situation. Captain Chen, Zara, and representatives from Earth and Silos were called to testify. "This ability," the crystalline council member began. "This connectivity. How can we be assured it will not be used as a weapon to dominate or control other species?" Chen stepped forward. "Esteemed Council, what we experienced was not domination, but illumination. It didn't erase our differences or override our individual wills. Instead, it allowed us to truly see and understand one another, perhaps for the first time." Zara nodded in agreement. "The connection doesn't control anyone," she added. "It simply opens doors. Doors to understanding, to empathy, to possibilities we've never imagined." The debate raged for days, with impassioned arguments on all sides. In the end, it was decided that further study was needed, but that the potential benefits outweighed the perceived risks. A new initiative was launched, Project Harmony. Its mission: to explore the implications of this new connective ability and to find ways to harness it for the benefit of all species. The Horizon, with its unique crew of humans and aliens, was chosen to lead the project. As they prepared for their next journey into the unknown, Captain Chen addressed her assembled crew and the new additions from various species. "We stand at the threshold of a new era," she began, her voice carrying through the ship's corridors. "An era not just of space exploration, but of exploring the very nature of consciousness and connection. The road ahead will not be easy. We will face challenges we can't even imagine yet. But together, human, Silosian, and all the species that call this galaxy home, we will forge a future brighter than any single one of us could have dreamed." As the Horizon disengaged from the Galactic Council station and set course for the uncharted regions of space, Chen felt a sense of profound hope. They had started this journey as explorers, become diplomats, and now found themselves as pioneers of a new form of existence. Zara stood beside her on the bridge, her hand resting lightly on a control panel. Through her, Chen could feel the pulse of the ship, the thoughts and emotions of the crew, and the vast, star-studded canvas of space that lay before them. "Where to, Captain?" Zara asked, a smile playing on her lips. Chen grinned back. Everywhere, Zara. We're going everywhere. As the horizon leaped into warp, carrying its diverse crew towards new adventures, it left in its wake a galaxy forever changed. The barriers between species were beginning to crumble, replaced by a growing understanding that in the grand cosmic dance, every being had a part to play. The human child who had once feared the carnivorous aliens, and the alien child who had been abandoned by her own people, had together sparked a revolution of empathy and connection. Their journey had only just begun, but already the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter, illuminating a future of limitless possibility. And so the horizon continued its voyage, not just through the physical vastness of space, but through the equally vast and uncharted territories of the mind and spirit. With each new world they discovered, each new species they encountered, the web of connection grew stronger, weaving the tapestry of a truly united galaxy. The era of isolation was over. The age of true understanding had begun. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that had started with a human crew's compassion for an abandoned alien child. That in the end, we are all one family, bound together by the infinite wonder of the cosmos.